Hi, and welcome to Cosmological Arguments. I'm your host, John Bannan. The dichotomy of existence. This argument for God states, the dichotomy of existence proves the existence of God by demonstrating the necessity of an uncaused creator with the power to create any or all of the infinite potentials for physical reality to the fullest extent logically possible under everythingness. In terms of the uncaused, there are only two possibilities. The first is the uncaused reason for the existence of all physical reality. The second is the uncaused absence of any reality, called absolute nothingness. These two are mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive of all logical possibilities, forming an abstract metaphysical dichotomy of existence. Because each side of the dichotomy is uncaused, there can be no cause for either of the two being real. Rather, one side is real and the other is not real without reason or necessity. Moreover, an uncaused thing does not have parts, because it would otherwise be caused by those parts. Because an uncaused thing does not have parts, an uncaused thing cannot be destroyed because destruction demands the disassociation of parts. As a result, the side of the dichotomy that is real can never be destroyed, and the other side that is not real can never become real. Because physical reality can differ in the most minute way logically possible from another potential physical reality, there is no good reason to believe that the uncaused reason for the existence of all physical reality could not also create that potential physical reality. Because this uncaused reason can create this potential physical reality, then it can also create another potential physical reality differing from the former potential physical reality in the most minute way logically possible. Repeating this ad infinitum, this uncaused reason must be capable of creating any or all of the infinite logically possible physical realities called everythingness. Because potential physical realities can be created, there must be a reason for the existence of physical reality and the creation of any or all infinite potential physical realities. This reason must be uncaused, because the creation of any or all physical realities is contingent on this reason, which leaves this reason without anything else to cause it. Because the creation of less than everything that is logically possible is itself a logical possibility falling within everythingness, then this uncaused reason must necessarily be able to decide what to create out of the infinite possibilities for physical reality. This uncaused reason must have knowledge of all the infinite potentials for physical reality, the power to create any or all of these potentials, and a presence to control, sustain, alter, or destroy any such creation. Moreover, this uncaused reason must have the greatest decision-making ability logically possible in order to be able to create up to the fullest extent of everythingness. We call this uncaused real side of the dichotomy of existence God. So, the dichotomy of existence consists of a dichotomy, which are two things which are mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive of all possibilities. So, you have the everythingness side or God side and the absolute nothingness side. We happen to be on the God side. But there's no particular reason for that. It's a special dichotomy. Both sides are special uncaused states. So there's no reason why we're on one side or the other side. But once you're on one side, you can't get on the other because the other, since they're uncaused sides, you can't destroy one side in order for the other side to exist. So the absolute nothingness side is a purely hypothetical, abstract side. Absolute nothingness is uh, is the idea of a state of existence where there is no such thing as God or physical reality of any sort. Absolute nothingness is not a void or an empty space. It's, you want to think of it, it's the absence of God. Now, since God is responsible for the creation of all physical reality, if you get rid of God, you get rid of all physical reality as well, including outer space, the quantum field, voids, whatever. So the absence of God removes all physical reality as well. So absolute nothingness is really the absence of God. And the other side of the dichotomy is God. And because God has the power to create all that is logically possible, uh, we call this the everythingness side. Everythingness is referring to God's ability to create everything that's logically possible. So, why is it that there has to be a God? Why does there have to be a decision maker to decide what to make real and what not to make real out of the infinite, logically possible forms of physical reality? And the answer is this: you can look at the universe and ask yourself, well, why does the universe have to be this way and not another way? And even in the smallest, minutest change in the universe, you're left scratching your head. Well, couldn't the universe have been just the smallest bit different at one particular time in its billion trillion year history? And the answer is, of course it could have been. But the second you acknowledge the fact that it could have been different, you're saying that the possibility that it could have been different is a real possibility, not an illusory possibility. It was a real possibility. And if it's a real possibility, then there has to be a cause that created this universe and not a slightly different one. That cause would have to be real in order for the possibility itself to be real and not illusory. So now you have proof of the existence of an uncaused metaphysical cause of physical reality, which we call God. And God is necessary because you need something, some uncaused thing, to make the decision as to what gets made out of the infinite logical possibilities for physical reality. That's the role God plays in reality itself. But it all begins with God. It's not as if everythingness is greater than God. Everything isn't greater than God. Everythingness isn't greater than God. Everythingness is God's uncaused power to create anything he wants out of the infinite logical possibilities for material or physical creation. So why does God have to be intelligent? You could have an uncaused cause and say, well, yeah, but it doesn't have to be intelligent. Well, God has to be intelligent, and this is the reason. Because the state of reality is the everythingness side, then you have to have the fullest extent of everythingness that is logically possible. And the decider of what gets made and what does not get made has an impact on the full scope of everythingness. So because you need the fullest scope of everythingness that is logically possible, that includes the greatest decision-making capacity by the entity that decides what gets made and what doesn't get made. For example, you can think of the Mona Lisa hanging in the Louvre in France. Now, a painting like the Mona Lisa could only be created by an intelligence, a human being, in this case, Leonardo da Vinci. But a computer couldn't create a Mona Lisa. So you can see how the intelligence of the decision maker also impacts what is possible, what can be created. And because the fullest extent of everythingness is required under everythingness, then the decision maker also has to have the fullest extent of a logically possible creative power in order to create the fullest extent of everythingness itself. And uh, obviously, because we know that intelligence exists here on Earth, we know that intelligence is logically possible. So God has to at least have the level of intelligence of a human being. But God's level of intelligence is unimaginable and far in excess of a human being's intelligence. So that's why God has to be intelligent. One last word about absolute nothingness. It's a theoretical concept. It's hypothetical. Don't think that it could ever be the case. It can't, because it's an uncaused state, and God is also uncaused. So you'd have to destroy God in order for absolute nothingness to be real. And because God is uncaused, you can't destroy God. God is not made of parts. Otherwise, the parts would be God's cause. So because God is not made of parts, you can't destroy God, because destruction requires the disassociation of parts. If God doesn't have parts, you can't destroy God. Um, so, in a nutshell, that's a dichotomy of existence. Um, if you want to have a symbol for this particular cosmological argument, I would use this. So these two circles represent the dichotomy. This is the infinite scope of the potential of creation under everythingness. And this part here represents somethingness. In other words, what actually gets created. So the universe, which is something, not everything, and not nothing, somethingness itself is a creation that is a subset of everythingness. So it's included in the dichotomy. It's part of the everythingness side, because God is necessary in order to decide what something gets made and what something doesn't get made. Uh, so I hope you learned something, and you can review this video because I went through it very quickly. Take care.